صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل. The Holy Quran states, O humans, surely I have created you as males and females and have made you into diverse races and tribes so that you may know one another. Verily, the most noble among you before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most highest of them. Truly, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. Today's lecture topic is the status of women in Islam. Islam's basic view of women and of men shows both a complementary function. Like everything else in this universe, humanity has been created in pairs. Neither one can be complete without the other. In Islamic thought, the universe is perceived as an equilibrium, built on harmonious, polar relationships between the pairs that make up all things in this life. In general, the emphasis which Islam places upon the feminine and masculine polarity results in a separation of social functions. In general, and we need to make it clear that this is in general, a woman's sphere of operation is the home in which she is the dominant figure, and a man's corresponding sphere is in the outside world. However, we'll find out that this is not always the case, and in fact, women also stray into the sphere of the outside world, where they are required to make changes and work inside the outside world. This shows how Islam trusts women to adapt and to take on roles that society may not approve of or even think about. So, does the Holy Quran differentiate between the status of men and women? The verse that I mentioned at the start of the lecture forms the basis of what I'm going to talk about. It describes that not just women, but the status in which they hold in general and in relation to men as well. In the verse, women and men are identified as two chief pillars of society. Additionally, the verse mentions that piety is regarded as the criterion for the superiority of both men and women. The Quran identifies faith in God, education and purification of the soul from all evils, piety and performing good deeds as the only path to human salvation and to achieving success in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this context, it doesn't differentiate between men and women. In fact, it regards both equally worthy of spiritual advancement, perfection and proximity or closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says in the Holy Quran that whoever performs a good deed, whether a man or a woman, whilst having faith in Allah, we shall assuredly restore them with a good and pure life, and we shall recompense them with rewards according to the best of what they have done. So, from that verse, what we can see is that in terms of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and striving in His way to do good deeds, there is no difference between man and woman. In this sense, then, we can say quite confidently that men and women, in this sense, are equal. To reiterate this, the Holy Quran says, Therefore their Lord granted their prayers. Verily, I shall not suffer the work of any agent among you to be lost, whether man or woman, who are all members of the same race. So how does the Quran specifically address women? As with all important sources of Islam, with the Quran being, of course, the most important one, it has spoken clearly about the importance of women and their qualities, their status and their duties as well. We can't overlook that the 4th chapter of the Holy Quran is literally called The Women, and it's dedicated to talking about women and issues related to them. The Quran has indicated worthy women in history as well, just as it has mentioned men who are worthy of mention, and it has commended them greatly as well. For example, regarding Lady Maryam, or Mary, the Quran states, So her Lord accepted her with gracious favour and nurtured her well and appointed Zachariah to foster her. Whenever Zachariah came to her sanctuary, he would see that she had food. He said, Ya Maryam, where does this come from? She answered, This is from Allah. Verily, Allah provides sustenance to whomever He wills without reckoning. Further to this verse, the Quran also states, And remember when the angel said, O Maryam, Allah has chosen you and made you pure and has preferred you above all women of creation. So, we've then established that women are mentioned by Islam clearly in the Holy Quran and that they have important functions and that they are commended, just like how men do in serving Allah. But how are we commanded to treat women? We must accept that women are more gentle creatures which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Not only are they a man's piece, but they are the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for men to be partners of and to find comfort and ease in. We could summarize the entire topic and the entire lecture with one quote from the Holy Prophet, Rasulullah. He says, "The most perfect in faith amongst believers is he who is best in manner and who is kindest to his wife." Rasulullah, again addressing the Muslims on the occasion of his farewell pilgrimage, warned them against the values which he feared would take place and would be neglected after him. And he referred to women as one of the most important issues, about which he said, "Observe your duty to Allah in respect of the women and treat them well." Again, the Holy Prophet stated that heaven lies under the feet of the mother. What can we understand from that? We can understand that women bring happiness, they bring joy, peace and blessings. And the one who treats a woman badly is not from the followers of Rasulullah. The man who treats a woman badly is the one who Rasulullah would curse and warn against. We can gain so much from the good treatment of our women. When Imam Kumayl wrote letters full of love and adoration for his wife whilst he was travelling on Hajj, or when Shaheed Bahishti, one of the great scholars in Iran, would stand beside his wife proudly in front of people and in front of photos to be taken, you can see that the reason for these men's success was because they gave their women the treatment and the status which they deserved. Now, as we are from the Shia school of thought, we have the belief in the awaited Imam Mahdi returning. And when Imam Mahdi returns, he will establish a government and he will establish rule, and this is something which we should hasten to strive towards. But when Imam Mahdi brings his government, will there be a place for women in it? That question was asked to Ayatollah Mahdi Tehran. Some young students came to him, including some female students, and they said, "What are the treatment of women going to be like when Imam Mahdi comes?" And Ayatollah Tehran said the following words, which completely changed my perception on this issue, and certainly the students who approached him. He said, "Islam incited a revolutionary change in the status of women within the family and in society in a historically unprecedented manner. Before Islam, women had virtually no human rights to speak of. In fact, in Arabia, women were passed as inheritance. They were passed as mere objects. In fact, when people had daughters, as you may know, they would bury them because they had the shame of giving birth to a woman." Ayatollah Tehrani says, "Islam, however, views women as the counterpart of men in terms of their humanity. Like a man, it is possible for her to participate in society in the areas of religion, culture, government and economics on the condition that she preserves her humanity and her chastity." The most prominent and quintessential examples from early Islamic history of women who played very important and pivotal roles in the family and in society were Lady Khadija, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, the wife and daughter of Muhammad, and Zainab bint Ali, the daughter of Imam Ali. Islam then raised the station and the status of women to such an extent that the Prophet Muhammad accepted their pledges of allegiance. They were allowed to accompany the Muslim armies to the battlefield as teachers, as nurses, and as moral support for the troops. The Muslim woman could be a teacher, she could be a defender of the law, and by fulfilling those roles in society, she could rise above the station of the angels. From one perspective, the importance of her role exceeds the role of men, because she is the one who creates other human beings. When we say creates, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator, but He's provided women to give birth and to create other human beings and rear them. Now, this is the part I want to mention, and I want people to listen to very carefully, because it's something which I can probably guarantee you won't have heard about. We know about when Imam Mahdi comes, there will be 313 soldiers, top commanders that come with him, and they will be the ones that we aspire to join and be with. But Imam al-Baqir, one of the holy Shia Imams, has narrated the following thing. He said the Mahdi will rise up along with 313 men and 50 women. And there won't be any previous arrangement between themselves. They will be like separate clouds forming into one above the sky. When you think about the 313, when you think, inshallah, amongst them, did you ever think that there would be 50 women who are also included in this specific narration? Imam Khomeini again has said that not only does Shia Islam not sideline women in societal matters, but it places them in their rightful position as human beings. Women hold a pivotal role in societal structure. Islam has lifted women to the extent that they can break free from being a mere commodity and object and assume their position as human beings. Accordingly, they can assume responsibility within the Islamic governments themselves. This may come as a shock to some people when they think about Islam and they think that the woman belongs solely in the home and shouldn't be going outside and doing anything in society. Quite the opposite. The man who incited the biggest change in the last 100 years in Islam and in the Middle East is himself telling you that the woman can take up the function of being a leader in a government and a leader in a society. So because the women in the other room can hear this, I have some advice for them. And I'm a man, so I don't want to give advice from myself and my personal beliefs to the women. So instead, I'll give them the advice that I have read from one of the most fascinating, inspirational human beings to have walked on this planet. The woman that I'm talking about and referring to is Amina as-Sadr, otherwise known as Bint al-Huda. She was the brother of the martyred Shaheed Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, who was executed by Saddam out of fear of what he and his sister could achieve. Amina as-Sadr, she says to the woman, and this is my advice to her, be an emulated role model and do not be an emulating puppet. Be a leader rather than a follower. Resist your temptations and hold your grounds as you face everything, because I know that the obstacles in front of you are numerous and that your path is not without thorns and pitfalls, but it is shameful to retreat. It is shameful to go back, for death is better than riding shame, and shame is better than the fire of hell. Amina as-Sadr says, Islam wants women to learn and to be educated so that she may come to know the essence of Islam according to its magnificent reality, and not to become familiar with the moral looseness of the Western women and the closed-mindedness of the Eastern women. Bint al-Huda continues. She says, Islam wants a woman to be a torch of divine light, whilst the corrupt society outside tries to turn her into a puff of fire. Islam wants her to be a fragrant flower, whereas the carnal concept wants her to become like a yellow withered leaf with the wind playing havoc with her. The Almighty created women to be the captain of the ship, but this false civilization that we live in has made her for quite some time just a toy. Allah created women to be the school for the next generations, but the forces of evil exert themselves to turn her into a dumb machine. So this is Amina as-Sadr's advice to the women. This is her advice to lift them free from the shackles in which this corrupt society has placed them into. And I have a final story just to show the devotion of the believing women towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what women can be capable of doing. This story is about the Iraqi female martyr, Maysoon Ghazi Abdul Amir al-Askari. This woman lived during the time of Saddam Hussein and his criminal, evil, tyrant regime. She was arrested by Saddam's forces because she belonged to the Islamic Action Organization. And she was executed in Abu Ghraib prison in an electric chair by Saddam's forces. When she was in the prison, one of the other females who was in the cell with her narrated her story. She said, this martyr, Maysoon, she stayed with us in the prison for about 2 months, and most of this time she spent in prayer and fasting. She used to say to herself, I ask myself, when will I be executed so that I can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more and get closer to Him? This female prisoner who was with the martyr, she asked her, my sister, are you afraid of death? Are you not scared of what Saddam can do? Everyone knows that Saddam's methods were completely brutal and evil and sadistic. Everyone knows how dangerous he was, especially for women. This woman says to her, "Are you not afraid of death?" The martyr looked at her with a smile on her face, with some surprise on it. And she said, "Death, my sister, means martyrdom. It means the dream that I waited for all of these months. Death for me is my birthday. Death for me is my wedding day." Then she took a long sigh, and she said, "Believe me, sister, I did not dream of winning martyrdom at the hands of these Umayyads with such little effort." Of course, after this, she was executed in the electric chair, one of the most horrific ways in which a person can die. And on her final moments, those words, that martyrdom to me is like my wedding day and my birthday. She went in with no fear. Why? Because she was one of the followers of Bint al-Huda, Amina as-Sadr, who came forward and gave her the advice to break free from what society has said a woman should be and follow instead what Islam has dictated a woman should be. And of course, the courage of our resisting women is even more beautiful sometimes than of our resisting men, because of their bravery and because of their devotion to serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.